I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming, everyone, on this evening where it's still cold before it becomes spring for a day to again tomorrow. Roll call, Mr. Lundberg.
Holm.
Yes.
Odie. Yes. Saxer.
Yep.
Talcott.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
All right, with that, if there are no changes to the agenda that need to be made tonight, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please.
So moved. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. No conflict of interest or disclosure waiver requests tonight. That takes us to approval of the minutes from the regular meetings on November 8th and November 22nd. I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved.
Second. There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Community input, I do not believe there's any tonight to be had, so that takes us to financial items. Mr. Lundberg.
Okay, I had just a couple of invoices noted on my listing. If you guys had any questions, feel free to ask me. On page 7, there was a new playground in the early childhood area at Brandon Elementary, $133,000. That's both the structure and the surface. Page 8, the last payment on Inspiration Elementary of $162,000. And then on page 10, we had our quarterly billing to Teach Well Solutions of just a little over $188,000. And then on page 11, we had a bond payment of $1.5 million for the Fred Assam and High School Activities Center payment. Total bill is $2,871,000. Advance payments breakdown of $5,168 is itemized. $62,172 of pay vouchers. A lot of substitute teaching, and also included in there were the summer band technicians that are reimbursed by the Brandon Valley Band Parents Association. Lastly, there were $154,380 of food service bills.
Any questions for Mr. Lundberg on the bills and claims? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve those as presented, please.
So moved. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Financial report, Mr. Lundberg.
Continuing on, the cash report for the month of November showed just under $11.5 million coming into the month. High receipt month of $10,885,000. Disbursements were $4,284,000, left just over $18 million at the end of November. $8.7 million of that $18 million was in the general fund, $5.5 million in the capital outlay fund, $1.7 million in the special education fund, $1.2 million in the bond redemption fund, $22,000 in the enterprise fund, and $842,000 in our capital projects fund. The $10,885,000 is itemized on the next two pages. A good portion of that, $8.4 million, was the first half of the tax draw, property tax draw in Minnehaha County. The investment report shows $1,285,000 of investments. Payroll and benefits summary had $2,909,000 of payroll in the month of November. The month of November contains almost $500,000 salary enhancement payment to all of our staff. And then the actual financial reports through November, it's 5 of the 12 months, just under 42% of the fiscal year completed. I do not have any items of concern on either the revenue or the expenditures. Somebody had specific questions. Food service showed a net profit or accrued profit of $440,000 through November. And lastly, the capital projects fund statement, getting towards the end of that. Completion of that project will end up probably right at, we have still some equipment purchases to be made, to be paid for, I should say. That'll end up $500,000 under budget, the entire project, roughly. The trust and agency statement showed $236,843, amounts that we were holding for other entities in the school district.
Any questions for Mr. Lundberg tonight on the financial report? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the financial report as presented, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Lundberg. That takes us to our general business section, administration reports, administrative center, Superintendent Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few items to update you on here this evening. COVID-19 information website maintains our centralized communication hub. We do have an item on our agenda tonight under general business that's a mandatory 6-month review as required by United States Department of Ed. Within that review, also the ability for public comment and/or holding of a public hearing. So just note that that's a requirement in accordance to the United States Department of Ed. And we are continuing to work through our entry-level driver training requirement that is coming for our CDL bus drivers. Plan to have some additional action items for you at coming meetings in terms of establishing an entry-level driver training wage, as well as the approval of those hourly paid positions. Academic school year calendar is currently under development. We've got an initial draft. We're working through our process with our various liaison councils. We will have a presentation for you in January, and then we'll have potential action on the academic calendar in the end of January. We just note that it's built off of this respective school year calendar. Middle school principal selection process, just want to apprise the board of the process that we'll be utilizing for the replacement of Principal Thorson, who previously tendered his retirement notification. So the position will open internally December 20th. I will be meeting with middle school advisory group, staff advisory group, certified and classified staff to discuss desired traits. We'll have internal applicant screening. The internal applicant interviews may be conducted or will be conducted with that advisory group participating. And then I may have a recommendation to hire for you pending internal applicants and or successful internal applicants. If necessary, the position will be opened externally there in January, and then additional screening and interview processes will be worked through. So just a heads up on general process of the principal selection at the middle school for next year. Brandon Elementary core area and Brandon Elementary drainage improvements. Want to make you aware of an item we're working through with the city of Brandon. We are looking to convey a small piece of unusable property at Brandon Elementary on what I'm going to classify as the southeast corner of their footprint. So basically straight south of like the soccer field, football field, track field area, right next to the road. There's a small piece of property there. It's already being used for drainage. There's a culvert there and a little bit of a low-lying area. Anyway, they're doing some improvements with the core area and the core area drainage to drastically improve the drainage to what would be the east and the south of Brandon Elementary. And basically what we're looking to do is convey that small piece to them, and what it'll end up being is a drainage swale. It will not be designed to have water in it at all times by any stretch of the imagination, but it becomes a slowing point for drainage in the event of a large rain, and then it moves its way down through some underground drainage, etc. Currently, that document is in the hands of our operations manager, as well as myself, and then I'm having legal just review that to make certain that everything is appropriate for that process. So that formal agreement will be brought to you at a meeting in January for ultimately your review and approval. But certainly would recommend that we do that when we get to that point, as we all work together to improve that core area as well as the drainage in that area. BV Listens 2.0, our work environment survey has been disseminated to both certified and classified staff. It remains open. The deadline for staff to complete that is January 18th. Certainly appreciate their participation in our work environment survey as we work to continually improve. Couple calendar items to note: 2-hour early dismissal on January 22nd. No school December 23rd through the 31st, with school resuming on January 3rd, 2022. There will be no school on January 17th for workshop and in-service. And then the only other item I would note, Brandon Valley High School addition, no real changes, but we do have some larger images, exterior images, and also some larger floor plans for your review as well as the public's review at our meeting here this evening. Approximately 35,000 square feet. Included in that addition on the east side of Brandon Valley High School, with our priorities remaining the same: general classrooms, ground floor sped, science lab classrooms. Timeline remains unchanged. We look to release those bid documents in early January and ultimately have a bid for formal approval in the month of February. So with that, would certainly entertain any specific questions that you may have.
Pretty quiet group tonight. Thank you, Superintendent Larson. Mr. Lundberg, anything additional tonight?
The next item on your agenda is the data from the EdStats Digest. I'll just briefly mention a couple words about that, it's kind of the same report you've seen for the last 20 years. Brandon Valley ranks very efficient with its use of our funds that we receive in the district. We're ranked 147th in per pupil spending out of 149 school districts in the state of South Dakota, which is the intriguing part of that is we're low per pupil spending, but highest teacher salary of anybody in the state. One of the highest. I guess we're ranked 3rd, okay, behind a couple of schools. So it's a very similar report to what you've seen in the last 20 years.
Thank you. Next, high school, Mr. Schleckaway, Mrs. Moore, or Mr. Paula? Okay. Middle school, Mr. Thorson? Intermediate school, Mr. Skipstead, Mr. Pearson? Elementary is Mr. Horst. Anything tonight?
Happy holidays to everyone and to your families.
Thank you.
The best.
Ms. Ochai not here, Mrs. Nelson not here. Mr. Henschel, anything tonight? Okay. And Mr. Farking must be busy. All right. No board policy. So that takes us to our first item under general business, the Brandon Valley School District Pandemic Response Plan, or Safe Return Plan. That's a mandatory 6-month review that was referenced earlier, / public hearing. Administration recommends no change.
Yeah, Madam Chair, as referenced, it is a requirement that schools review and make available for public comment through a public hearing-like approach their safe return plans. I would note that we've made a few tweaks along the way. There was one small minor change made in September, which received board approval, but tonight administrative recommendation would be no change to the current approach. So certainly open it up to the public for feedback. But hearing none, our administrative recommendation would be to continue on with no change to the plan.
All right, and with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the BVSD Pandemic Response Plan mandatory 6-month review as presented.
So moved. Second.
It's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the 2 items under consent approval there under general business.
So moved. Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Personnel, I would entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 9 as presented, please.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Communication, I did not see any building permits there. Tonight for review, Board of Education, there are 4 thank you notes there for various things from staff and families. That takes us to our formal board reports. Does anyone have a formal board report that they would like to share tonight? All right. Very quiet bunch tonight. With that, there's one travel report there for your review. That takes us to the end of our scheduled agenda. I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
There's been a first and second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. And to echo what Mr. Horst said, Merry Christmas, everyone, if you can believe it. That's not that far away.